So my son jumped on top of me while I was on the couch yesterday. And he's like, Dad, you haven't listened to a thing I've been saying to you. I'm kind of like, that is the weirdest way to start a conversation.
We got a pile of dad snacks that we assume dads would eat, and probably most people would eat.
I know that I like some of these acceptably. I know that some of these I don't like at all.
We'll start with the chips and guac.
They use a lot of garlic in it. When I make guacamole, I don't use garlic, but this is definitely worth a second taste.
It's not a problem with this guac per se. It's that I just really like mine.
The guac is oddly spicy, too mushy. Chips are fine.
Well, what's the word when you basically praise yourself and you think you're the best? Self-impressed, that one. I'm too self-impressed about my guacamole.
When you have three boys, navigating the dynamic of the three of them interacting is a bit of a challenge. As the youngest child moves from just doing whatever he wants to kind of recognizing the social dynamic around him, how he fits into the pecking order becomes a thing he cares a lot about. He's realized he doesn't have the academic skills or the physical ability to compete with his older brothers. But what he has figured out is comedic timing. A little while ago, the oldest and the middle were arguing about something, and they got mom involved, and mom made a judgment, and it was against the determination of the middle child. And he's like, but no, that's not okay. And mom's like, that's it, it's done. Here's the decision. At which point the youngest pops up behind the counter. Dun, dun, dun! With pose. And then walks away. At which point my wife and I look at each other and just lose it. And the oldest is laughing. The middle one is beyond angry because now he feels like he's been mocked. But it was the funniest moment. And he realized that's funny. So now this is a recurrent thing. Dun, dun, dun!
So I realized recently that I have some trust issues when it comes to stairs. They're always up to something.
So I actually haven't been a father that long. I have a 7-month-old, and she's our first, and her name is Liesel. She's not a very snuggly kid, but over the last week or two, whenever we go in to put her down for the night, Mamie, my wife's holding her, we sing her a little goodnight song, and it used to be that she would just try to bail out of our arms because she's very active. But recently, I think she's finally figured out that there's this correlation between us being in the room and singing the song and her being about to go down for the night. And so right before she goes to bed, she has taken to flip-flopping back and forth between me and Mamie as we sing the song, where she will reach out and try to snuggle me, and then she'll go back and she'll burrow into Mamie, and then she'll pop out again and try to give me a hug. It's very not her personality, but she started doing it more, so I guess she's deciding to be affectionate in her old age.
Virgil's Handcrafted Vanilla Cream All Natural Soda. What?
It smells great. It tastes not quite as good as it smells.
Kind of like sugar water with a few drops of vanilla.
The white cheddar Cheez-Its.
I like regular Cheez-Its better.
I like those. I like white cheddar.
Cheez-Its are moving up in the world.
These are the newfangled gimmicks.
So for the past few months, Generation Joshua has been on lockdown with a lot of the rest of the country. We've been working from home, and we've been adjusting to that. Way back at the beginning of all this, I've been working from home for a couple days. I have 2 little girls, 4 and 2, and we were just making it work. And I was at the dining room table, and they were trying to play and do school and do music and stuff, and I'm trying to do video conference calls with the other GenJ staff. And my 4-year-old had a bit of a DTR for the work at home time one night, and she came up to me and she's like, so Dad, normally when you're home you get to play with me, and she goes, and right now you're doing a lot of work. I was like, yeah, that's true. But then she came and kind of actually set her official boundary, and she goes, so I would really appreciate it if when you have work to do, you go to your office and do your work, so that when you come back home, it's playtime.
I watched a documentary on how ships are made. Riveting.
Everybody knows that pink Starbursts are the best Starbursts.
Orange is the best kind, followed by yellow.
Good and plenty's. To me, they're a classic dad snack because my dad was the one who introduced me to them.
These, I already know, are going to be the worst.
This would be my dad or my grandpa. Both would eat these.
Yep. Those are pretty much as bad as I remember them.
Black licorice is so underappreciated. It's a power flavor.
In my family, my dad did not eat these, and my mom did eat Good and Plenty's. So this is a mom snack.
I love a good donut. Krispy Kreme is, as everybody knows, the best.
We're recording this, I believe, somewhere around here it's been like National Donut Day. I didn't know that was a thing.
I don't actually like eating donuts with my fingers. I like eating donuts on a plate with a fork.
If it's not a thing, it should be a thing. This is a good thing.
Next, we have Junior Mints Minis, by the way.
I assume that I've eaten these, but I honestly don't remember if I've actually eaten these.
These were things that I would always get actually at the lake on vacation with my brothers and parents.
These are like lame York peppermint patties.
I taste it, and what I smell is like the lake and the breeze and like all of like amazing childhood there, sheer nostalgia. We grew up on a farm, and that meant we were about an hour from anything. So to get anywhere, to do anything of any real substance, meant we had about an hour drive. My dad had this, at the time I thought it was a really annoying habit of anytime he was going anywhere, a kid was coming with him. What I discovered later, as I've grown up, was that he would take that time and we would have conversation in the car, which meant every week I had a couple hours of conversation with my dad, there and back. We'd usually get coffee, or he would get what he called coffee, and I'd get something that was a latte or frappuccino or whatever it is. And we talked about everything. And he did it all the time. And he let me talk about the random stuff I wanted to. But he always found a way to take truth and apply it into the conversation that happened. I didn't realize how much he was pouring into me in the moment, and he did. My dad was an elder at our church, so we talked theology. My dad's a lawyer, so we talked about justice. We talked about law, and we talked about due process. We talked about parenting and relationships and how to be kind and how to be patient. What little bits of those things I've acquired, I largely credit to him taking the time to let me talk and process and even challenge him on his ideas and converse with me on them. And to respect me enough to let me say my piece, even to disagree with me, or even being humble enough to take a critique from his significant junior. That blew my mind. But it also significantly affected how I live my life.
Several of the stories I remember from growing up and doing stuff with my dad is related to fishing. It's not like we fished all the time, but whenever we did, it was a fun and really memorable experience. One story in particular, we went out in a rowboat on a big lake, and I guess we hadn't checked the weather forecast or something because it started like a nor'easter. Like it was a small lake, but the waves were like crashing into the boat. I remember my dad just like rowing for all his might, trying to get us back to the shore. The water's starting to fill up in the bottom of the boat. I took like the worm bucket and I'm like bailing out as a little kid, trying to keep us going as we're like crashing into the shore, like trying to get back. And we did make it to shore, and I think we were both soaked to the bone. That story is significant to me, not so much that like my dad saved my life. I mean, as a little kid, yes, that was basically what was in my head, was we're about to die, and then my dad rowed us to shore and we didn't die. I think looking back as an adult and as a dad myself, it's just, I'm thankful that he was really willing to take me on fun outings, spend time with me, and also like that involved risk and adventure, because like together we made a real memory where we both did our part and we faced some big risks and we got home safe, and that was something about that stuck around with me. Virgil's Handcrafted root beer. I have higher hopes than the vanilla for this little baby.
I saved this for last because I already know how this tastes.
Ooh. That's really good. I haven't had this brand before.
It's got that little bit of spiciness that you want from root beer. It's got the bubbles. It's not too syrupy.
The root beer is the true winner of the dad snack contest. When I was about 7 or 8, my dad started hunting. He had some friends from church and we would hunt deer. But I'm also a 7-year-old boy, and so sitting in a tree stand for hours on end got really boring. And so I would pack in books. When I say books, I mean like big books about like ships or war history or whatever, like the kind of books that you'd find in the reference section, because I was a weird homeschool kid. And I would sit with my dad and he would hunt and I would read. And we were sitting on the edge of the field one time, and the biggest buck that dad had seen started walking down the edge of the field that we were in. Dad was super excited, and of course, little 7-year-old Brandon is super thrilled. I'm just looking and I'm looking and I'm leaning up because I'm trying to see as it's getting closer and closer. And the more I'm scooching up, the more my lap starts to angle. This thing was close. And Dad was literally about ready to take the shot. And right as he goes to take the shot at the biggest buck that he's yet seen in his hunting career, my massive book slips off my lap and onto the floor of the tree stand. Of course, the deer instantly spooks, dashes away. All I remember was being so embarrassed and upset, and Dad looking at me, but he didn't actually say anything. He just sat back down, and I think I was like apologizing profusely, and it was like all he could do not to say anything, but he was just like, it's okay, it's all right. The reason why that story kind of stands out to me in my head is because that is very typical of my dad. You never worried about what he would do if you messed up. Something that personally affected him, something that was exciting to him, like ruining a special moment for him, and that was okay. Like he wasn't happy about it, but you were still okay, and you were still his kid, and he still loved you, and you were obviously more important to him than that. And I think that's something that I've always known about my dad is how important I am to him and how much he loves me.
So from all of us GenJ dads to all you dads out there, happy Father's Day.